Hey guys, welcome back to Done with Depression. Today we're talking about writing my dad a letter and having to read it to my process group. So, if you guys don't know, I did a original trauma exercise, which is part of DBT in partial hospitalization when I was there, and it really made me realize where some of my trauma started from. So, in this original trauma exercise, I realized that a lot of things I was going through was because of the relationship I have had with my dad, and a lot of things stemmed from that going into other relationships, growing up, and the interactions that I had, and things like that. So, based on the original trauma, I decided that I needed to write my dad a letter and kind of let him know where I was at in my life, the things that were going on, and kind of set my boundary and take a stance, if you will. So, a couple things about him. He didn't know that I was vegan. I've been vegan for 2.5 years now, and he didn't know. So, that's obviously a big part of my life. When I was in my adolescent years, kind of in middle school, all the way through high school, we didn't even talk. So, he wasn't there for the most, like, through a lot of the changes that I went through and through like the toughest time to be an adolescent and teenager. And so I realized that I had some resentments for that, and that he was never really the dad that I wanted him to be. And part of that is accepting it on my part, but also I've been holding on to a lot of pain and a lot of judgments and a lot of resentment that I've just held inside, and it's just been festering in there. And so this letter was going to be me telling him how he had hurt me, and me taking the pain from inside me and handing it over to him to do with as he wished. So I wrote the letter. It was ended up being the first draft. I didn't really have to think about it as much as I thought. It all just kind of came out, and I'm a decent writer, so it was pretty formatted. I read over it, but I didn't really change anything. I read it to my mom, and then I had to read it to my processing group in PHP. And that was probably the hardest thing that I did in all of PHP while I was there. It was really rewarding to be able to read it to them and for them to support me and encourage me and be proud of me. But it was super emotional when I read it, and it was very hard to get through. This letter is also 2 pages, single spaced, full pages. So there's a lot of stuff in there. And when you're emotional and trying to read this off of a piece of paper in front of 10 or 12 people, it's very hard to do. So I just did it. I started getting anxiety before I was going to do it, but I did some mindfulness activities, some breathing to try and get me to calm down a little bit. And I just read through it. Everyone at the end was super touched by the letter that I wrote, and they said I was inspiring, which kind of confused me. It wasn't the intent of the letter, but I guess it's kind of cool that other people felt like maybe they wanted to write a letter to their dad, or maybe they needed to have a different type of phone conversation, or whatever that looks like. So my letter went through some of the traumas that I had had, kind of explained some of the feelings I had since I was younger, how they affected me, different situations that him and I had together. And then at the end, I restated who I was. So I said, I am Ryan, I'm vegan, all this other stuff that's specific to me, stating who I am firmly and stating my boundaries. And for me, that last paragraph was super impactful on me taking my stance and me living the life that I want to live and not the life that someone else wants me to live, or not by someone else's judgments of me, or doing something because of someone else. So since then, he wrote another letter, response letter, and we'll probably talk about that in another video. But we're currently not talking. I kind of got what I needed out of writing the letter, and I don't know if there's anything that he could have said in response that would have changed how I felt. But I know that for me, kind of like in the last video, I just needed to say what was inside of me. So this was my way of writing it all out, sending it, giving it to him, and then it's not inside me anymore. And for me, that's how I am able to do some of my healing, is by getting it out of me, the toxic that's just sitting in there, getting rid of it, and then it kind of helps you accept it and forgive in a way and be able to move on from that. So that's what I got for the dad letter. The next video, I might actually read it to you guys, and maybe the response, or that might be a separate video, I'm not sure. So anyways, like and subscribe to the channel if you guys like this video, and we can get a good community going of people that need support, and we can just have a great supporting community that is able to talk people through some things, and we can just talk about depression. So thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one.